the weekend, me and Lindsay went out to do some thrifting. Thrifting's always fun. You can go to the corporation-owned places or the charities, and there's a few good charities in Calgary that have thrift stores set up. One of which would be the Women in Need Society, which is pretty generous with different families that come through there. There's a few other ones. Thriftopia, I believe, helps a lot of families out as well. So it's good to throw your support behind those folks and places like Goodwill that give their profits to people who need it. Nevertheless, there are other thrift stores out there that don't do that you can get some good stuff at as well. But I do have quite a stack. It was a pretty successful excursion trip out to get this stuff. So let's just go through it. Some of this stuff actually I got in the mail too. I did go out of my way to order it. And I'll be sure to point out which ones those are. I probably didn't need to, but as impulses are, right? And I think book collecting can be quite impulsive. Also, too, I should mention a few of these books are not going to fit into my themes of like the Canadian graphic novel or Canadian illustration, but that's okay. That's okay. I got my sort of major collection was open to accepting new friends as well. So, okay, first one. I ordered this from Thrift Books, but mainly because I wanted a book about pop-up art and some instruction on pop-up art. I'm sure it's a very simple thing. But at some point, I would like to do some zines that incorporate some pop-ups into them. I remember as a kid just like super enjoying doing that. And I know it's going to be time consuming to do if I ever do make that. But I mean, this book was pretty cheap. It's okay if it sits in my intellectual or creative compost pile, and at some point it's going to manifest in something. But I wanted something really simple with a few little simple crafts in it that I can maybe incorporate into a story somehow. We'll see. Dangerous Woman, graphic biography of Emma Goldman. Looking forward to it. Definitely some feminist literature. Not sure if it's. I don't think it is Canadian. I think it's an American book. Fairly certain it's some American creators, but I could be off on that. But yeah, feminist lit in graphic novels is its own genre, and I think really is a specific genre that helped kind of bring graphic novels to where it's at right now. And I definitely enjoy it, and we'll definitely be doing some run-throughs of some pretty major feminist auteurs, and always good stuff. Really important to learn about, not just in terms of what happened last week with Roe versus Wade, but overall, just a great way to sort of frame knowledge about rights in any place. Just to start reading some feminist lit. These next ones were interesting. I couldn't leave these. No chance I could leave these. Because they're beautiful, first of all. The covers are awesome. We hate this place here. It's our home. The pictures of characters that look like they might be buffaloes on the back tell me that this is very likely Canadian. I saw it on the shelf and was like, why has nobody bought this? Why is this being left here? Because again, they are very beautiful books. Happy Christmas from, I think, the authors, David Barry and Josh J. Holinaty. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. I'm not sure where David's from. I get the impression he's from Calgary or from Canada somewhere, just looking him up. But Josh is from Edmonton. and studied at Edmonton College of Art and Design. Yeah, just really like this stuff. Lots of detail, lots of excitement. I mean, he's got a Louis Riel shirt. Very likely that this is a book about Métis issues, perhaps, or Métis life in Canada. And yeah, I hope it takes place in Edmonton. That'd be awesome to read about. I think it might, just looking at this cover. This looks an awful lot like the High Level Bridge in Edmonton, which is a pretty famous bridge. In terms of what happens there. Some bad things happen at the High Level Bridge. But anyways, looking forward to this. Looks beautiful. Always impressed with what people can do with just blacks on white. These look beautiful. All right. Now, I don't have too many books, Canadian illustration books that get into Justin Trudeau and parodies of Justin Trudeau. There's certainly plenty to choose from with regards to his dad, but I think it's going to be a little interesting snippet to get looking at Justin's parodies and collecting those, trying to amass those as I come across them. This is a pretty simple one. I wouldn't have bought this book had it not been in a thrift store, because honestly, it's not something that, it's like, what, 20 bucks Canadian? Yeah, I wouldn't pay that for this. But cover feels beautiful. Cover is nicely designed. Frankie Williams, definitely a Canuck. It's a flip book. It's strictly a flip book with the coifs of our Prime Minister's hair. Oh, Frank even signed it for somebody named Tristan. May this read be magical. Well, he's even got a table of contents. Well, that's an interesting. I mean, it's all part of the gimmick, right? It's like one of those old books you used to get in San Francisco stores or joke stores that was like, what men know about women, or what women know about men, and you open it up and it's an empty book. This isn't too far off from that, minus some slight variations on coifs of our Prime Minister's hair. So that's number one for my Pierre Elliott, or my Justin Trudeau collection. At some point I'll do a video of just like the Pierre Elliott parodies I have. There's some really great stuff out there, some really interesting stuff that gets into like collage and illustration at the same time. Really fun stuff. So here's something from my neck of the woods, definitely underground comic, kind of indie, self-published. I believe it's self-published. Friesen Press, I believe, is kind of like, I don't know, for self-publishers. Nice digital work here. Some pretty basic cartooning, digital cartooning. The colors are absolutely gorgeous. I think this Andrew Howell, is pretty good illustrator, pretty good colorist. Nice cover. Cover feels real nice. Got that nice matte finish with a little bit of grip to it. Yeah, from Calgary, Andrew Howell. I'm not sure what Andrew Howell has been up to. Oh, well, this is pretty recent. This is 2021, so right on. I'm glad I grabbed this. We'll definitely be jumping into that. Was so excited, so elated to find this book. Tunes, a comic book history of rock and roll, edited by Vincent Brunner. I don't know if Vincent Brunner is from Calgary or not. I don't think that he is. That name certainly doesn't sound familiar, although his last name, I believe there's a local guy who's a colorist for some major Marvel stuff. Let's see here. Oh, Vincent Brunner is an editor for French Rolling Stone. There's a number of things. But the cool thing about this that appealed to me was this. It's like little biographical snippets about different bands in the story of rock and roll. Well, certainly the typeface attracted me because, what is it? Cheap Thrills, it's the same kind of font. Maybe trying to evoke some of that Robert Crumb design. I get it. I totally get it. This even looks a little bit like the cover of, say, Mothers of Invention or Janis Joplin's Cheap Thrills. All right, so let's have a look at this back cover here. And okay, so shorts, biographical shorts on each one of these artists, and they're all done by individual artists, which is cool. I'm looking forward to PJ Harvey, some Nirvana, some Radiohead, some from my era of growing up, but also curious about the Kinks, and definitely some Captain Beefheart, some Elvis stuff, Led Zepp, Nick Drake, New Order. So much good to pull from. Nick Cave, how could I miss that? Yeah, White Stripes should be interesting as well. So much to pull from in here. Can't wait to read it. Maybe I'll go have a read on the hammock this afternoon. More Dear Teacher. So, compiled by Emile and Diana Lizet. Definitely a little Canadian book. I get the impression this is a sequel to Dear Teacher, because more Dear Teacher. I think the idea is just like little letters that kids write to their teachers and the odd things kids say in them, and I'm sure there is some odd stuff. But picked it up specifically because it is Tom Nesbitt that's doing the illustration in here, and it looks great. And I love his designs. Just looks right fantastic. His cartooning is definitely full of emotion. Fun drawings. Absolutely fun drawings. Yeah. Please excuse Beth's absence of yesterday. She got into the grape juice. All right. That's fantastic. Okay. Saw this. Doesn't fit into my collection in almost any way. I do have a small little stack of Mike Allred stuff from across his years, including some older MADMAN stuff. Some of that Hero Ashcan from Hero Illustrated with the foil cover. I got some of that. But yeah, MADMAN Adventures, Kitchen Sink, so it's going to be pretty old. It's going to be from pretty early on, I think, in Allred's career. 1994. Well, that's not too early on. I think he was starting to publish some MADMAN stuff in the late 80s even. But nevertheless, nice little trade, right? Some of MADMAN Adventures. I don't know if I'll keep it or sell it or maybe give it to a friend. Cartoonist Kayfabe, actually, they have this event coming up about Christmas in July, utilizing the little free libraries that you see across your city that I think sometimes are ignored, but maybe trying to spur some interest in those, as well as spur some interest in comics and putting some reading together for anybody that stumbles upon those. So I'm definitely going to be participating in that and distributing some little care packages of comics throughout Calgary and putting them in the free libraries, maybe in my community and a bit downtown as well. All right, I was happy to find this. This is the first trade for Adventure Time, published by Kaboom. Boom Studios does just a generally good job of the licensed properties that they have, and did an awesome job with Adventure Time comics. And I believe they're still making them and still publishing them, living beyond the time that the show's on, which is really cool. So this is the first trade. I've got the second one. I found the second one at a store recently, at a thrift, and glad to have this. Not just in terms of like Ryan North. Like Ryan North is a fine writer. And of course, you probably recall some of his web comics. I believe he's doing some mainstream stuff now, like Unbeatable Squirrel Girl. I think he had a pretty acclaimed run on that. But the backups in these by this illustrator known as Mike Holmes, who I believe is out of Halifax. And it's just like a splendid illustrator, a really splendid illustrator. His own stuff, I wasn't as like keen on, just because the themes that were found in it kind of found boring. But like his art is really good, and I think that's reflected in here with some of the shorts that he does. Adventure Tim is, I believe, the backup he's doing in here. Really good illustrator. I like him a lot. It's got personality. All right, so Skull Kickers as well. I believe this is an image book, and it's the first trade from Skull Kickers. I don't know how this fits into the whole continuity of it, like with Uncanny Skull Kickers, if that's like something totally separate from all this. But Jim Zubkovich, goes by Jim Zub, again, has achieved definitely some mainstream success in his writing. I don't know if he's writing like events for Marvel right now. I believe he is actually getting involved in some of the Infinite, whatever the crossover of the week is over there. But yeah, Jim Zubkovich, he's been a face in like underground comics in Western Canada and probably in all of Canada for like probably decades. The guy's been around for a long time and is just all around good dude and is really interested in getting people reading comics. And Edwin and Huang as well. They're both from, I believe they're both from Vancouver. So it's cool to see that kind of success, especially with Jim Zub, who's just a nice dude. I like him a lot. Yeah, coloring's awesome in this. I don't know if that's you, Misty Coates, that's doing the coloring, but colors look absolutely fantastic. Yeah, Misty Coates is doing the coloring. Coloring's beautiful. All right. Ooh, this one. Okay, so Hello Me Pretty by Gamanche. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name, but I will say this. I think that this graphic novel is probably one of the most important graphic novels to come out of Canada. And that's probably saying maybe something too big. It was published in 2007. This is my second copy of it. I'm going to find a home for it. Give it to somebody or perhaps put it in the free little libraries. But it is a really important book. Number one, the art's awesome. The art's really great. But the themes that are dealt with in this book are so indicative of that Canadian graphic novels, Canadian contributions to graphic novels. It's an interesting piece. It's described as Quebec folk art treasure. Perhaps, I don't know. I've never been to Quebec. I don't live in Quebec. I don't even speak the language of Quebec. But yeah, I would say like reading this and discovering this, I just found it in a pile. I found it probably thrifting at some point as well, and was taken in by the art. But the subject nature is crazy good. Story of the author's mentally disabled sister and their adventures growing up in a small community just outside of Montreal with Expo 67 and FLQ crisis as part of that historical backdrop. So you've got these pretty significant events in Canadian history going on while growing up with the sister who has, they're watching her mental health just get worse and worse. And the sort of the futility of some things like what's being depicted on the back cover here. Every panel in this book just says so much within it. Really simple style, folk arty style, but don't let that deter you from this, I would say, masterpiece. It is awesome. It is truly an awesome read. And I think we're lucky to have this, to be able to read. So whoever's my my lucky friend that gets this, good for you. Or maybe I'll give it out. I don't know. Maybe we can have a contest where I send out all my favorite books. It's from Conundrum. It's from BDANG. So Conundrum did this small imprint of BDANG books. I'm not sure exactly what BDANG was meant to do, but there are a few books from that line that I think we could either do a whole video of just running through the books from that BDANG imprint from Conundrum, or yeah, I don't know. This book deserves a video of its own. I believe Dave Lapp's book Drop In is from BDANG as well, and there's a few other small ones that they're really, really nice books that I think deserve a word or two. So watch out for that. All right, 60 selected drawings from Aubrey Beardsley. I myself just recently discovered this artist. I didn't go to art school, so go easy on me. I'm not an educated artist by any means, but Beardsley clearly has influenced many things since his time. I recently picked up another one. I think I showed it in the in another one of my haul videos. You come across them at the thrift stores. I thought I would start grabbing these just because the line work, his line work is so precise, and of course using a really fine tip. Pointillism is embraced in all of Beardsley's work, or some of Beardsley's work as well. Just comparing this to maybe the last one I got, which I think predates this one by quite a bit. The reproduction quality in this one, I would say, is not as nice. Like, I don't know. When it comes to pointillism and these really fine lines, I don't know. It's just drawings like that. They kind of entice you in a way to like touch and engage in it in a tactile way. And I appreciate reproductions of works like Beardsley's where the ink is thick or the paper is textured. This is really smooth paper. Yeah, Beardsley's work just invites you in, wants you to touch what's going on here and feel those lines, right? But you don't get that experience here. There's no tactile experience with this reproduction of Beardsley's work, which is, I think, maybe a bit of a loss. So had this been of regular price, I don't think I would purchase it. But seeing as I bought it in a thrift, or found it in a thrift, I'd grab it up right away. Especially more modern, run through. Bridget Elliott's got an essay in here, so I'll read that up. Help me appreciate Beardsley's work even more. So lastly, I picked up on our last stop of thrifting these two Ben Wicks treasuries. So Ben Wicks is a political cartoonist from here in Calgary. He's been around for a very long time. As far as I can tell, maybe predates Roadwalt by a little bit. But I think he's been doing stuff for Calgary newspapers for decades. You know, Ben Wicks's work, he's got a lot of books published of his work. I don't know if he was doing it. I suspect he was doing maybe annual albums or things like that. And rather than chasing those, I get these treasuries. And maybe from going through these treasuries, I'll pick up some of those annuals, some of those little portfolios that he's got spread around. But part of the reason, too, is because I've never really been that attracted to Ben Wicks's work. But saying that, since picking up these treasuries and having just quick flip-throughs, this dude knows his stuff. This dude's pretty crafty. Because, I mean, you see the simplicity of his designs. That simplicity and being able to capture likenesses is pretty clever stuff. like his Ronald Reagan is on point. And to do Ronald Reagan in such a simple style, where the characters all look kind of generic, there's personality there. And I think, you know, one of my things about political cartooning or caricature is that it's kind of like poetry, right? Like, for a writer who writes prose, there's some advantages to the novel, because the novel gives you a lot of space to move around and convey thoughts, convey story. You got a lot of space to move around, right? Almost as much as you want. But then when a writer switches to poetry, you only have so much real estate. Like you could write like a long, I don't know, Pierre Berton kind of poetry. That's wrong, Pierre Berton. I don't know if he ever wrote poetry, but some poets write these like crazy long poems. To me, that's weaving into a different place, but more modern poetry, I think, has to be incredibly efficient with conveying its thoughts. And I think that political cartoons and caricature are kind of like that. They're like the poetry of illustration. Like, you've only got so much space to convey these thoughts. And the best ones, oftentimes, I think, are they're minimal, right? Like, they can convey a lot. Hi, it's me again. Man praying. It's like, just that word again gives so much to this little drawing, right? And yeah, I get the sense Ben Wicks might be a master of that medium. Further investigation required, but I suspect that that's the case. And I suspect I'm going to end up loving these and potentially give you like a full video on Ben Wicks' stuff. All right, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. Anyways, that's this haul. Hope you enjoyed that. Like, follow, subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you next time with some more hauls or maybe some run-throughs of stuff from my collection. And again, like, if there's anything from my collection that you want to see me go into some depth with, yeah, I'm open to requests. You take care and stay safe.